And dead. He was in a car crash.
This is where Bill S. Preston, the first, is actually his psychiatrist.
Right.
And he's doing that inner dialogue. And like you said, the inner dialogue stuff...
It's too much. They do a lot of it in this movie, and it really...
It takes away from it.
I was getting ready to say, it really does take away from the film, because it's supposing that you're either A, don't have good enough actors or director or audience to infer what's going on.
Yeah.
So if that's the case and that's what you're using, and I think that was a big studio piece as well they had talked about, then you shouldn't be making that movie. That's my opinion.
Yeah, because he's sitting there and it could just be inferred through the direction and the acting that he wants to leave, even though he's telling the doctor what.
Well, he tells him that too. I mean, he says it to us. He's like, I need to make him feel like I'm.
But it's so stupid that we have to hear his thoughts. Yeah. What I'm saying is, if he would just act and talk to the doctor, we would get it. That he knows it's still real, but he wants to leave.
Because right afterwards, he goes to
the first place he goes is a graveyard.
Yeah. Which, if he was talking to the doctor like he did, and then he goes and he's like, you would get
know.
it. Yeah. You would get it without.
Why did we have to have all that?
Yeah, maybe the voiceover doesn't add much.
Yeah, maybe they didn't have that at first, and maybe that the studio wanted that. Maybe to.
That's what I'm thinking. Is that it was one of the studio things. We have to explain this and make it
put
very
a voiceover in here.
People.
Yeah. So the voice. What is he doing?
Why don't we know?
Okay, let's reshoot.
We're too dumb. That's why.
So this is another point where you get to see you're in the graveyard, and that's kind of again they're in Morningside, cemetery where
he has a sweet pickaxe.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. He has a pickaxe and a shovel, and he digs up 3 graves in like 15 minutes.
Well,
but they're not 6 feet down either.
Well, let me just tell you, you shouldn't know.
No, it's going to take you a day.
Yeah, you're going to be fucking passed out after like 3/4 of the way through the first one, dude.
Well,
especially I've been in a psychiatric ward for apparently 7 fucking years.
Yeah, do you think he was lifting weights? It was medication time every day, at least 4 times. Medication time.
Well, they just show him in the third one. He just says, "This is the third one I've dug up."
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, but I'm just saying, badass, go.
Yeah, and then
going.
Reggie inherently knows.
Then Reggie just shows up there.
Well, he knows.
7 years later, I figured you'd be here.
Yeah, like he knows.
I'm like,
I figured you'd be here, you crazy motherfucker.
Well, maybe he visited him in the. Maybe he visited each other.
Yeah, I'm assuming.
So
I didn't get that at first.
He leaves everything there too. He leaves his sweet pickaxe for one,
and his shovel, out there.
And it just doesn't bother to
maybe he took it from the shed in the workplace at the cemetery.
Well, he threw the pickaxe over the wall.
Yeah, he went and got him. He got him before he went there, so he had to go visit a Home Depot before he got there. Or an Ace Hardware at that point.
I think that was a busy day for him. They were going to Bed Bath & Beyond right after.
Yeah, it was a True Value Hardware. And so,
I think it's just the same place they would go later, but
I don't know, maybe because they don't really explain that either. So that's whenever they're in the car, and he's kind of like, "Oh yeah, your what's her name? Your aunt came down, and she baked a turkey." You're like, "Holy shit, they're fucking pulling out all the stops."
Dude, he's been in fucking hospital for 7 years.
Yeah, 7 years. Yeah,
7 years of crazy time.
Right.
To them, you know what I mean?
He's Home Dude's got a niece now. Mike's got a niece. And his aunt came down, and they're all visiting, and then that's when the telepathic link happens. He sees the tall man.
Yes, he sees the tall. Well,
turn on the gas.
He hears the tall man say, "Welcome home, boy," and there's a hand turning on gas knobs, which is
in his brain.
Yeah, in his brain, like this telepathic link where he's seeing the gas being turned on without the pilot lights. And then he screams at Reggie, "Oh my God, we got to get to the house and get everyone out."
Yeah, because Reggie at that point, too, has already said something like, that whole thing about me blowing up my own house, like it didn't happen. Reggie does talk to him about that.
Absolutely.
He's saying something like,
that never happened.
Yeah, that never happened, Mike. We need to get past this, and I'm glad you're feeling better. Because that never happened. And they're going to that house, and that's when the second time you get to see
the house blow up.
Yeah, but
from a different angle.
The funny part is the way Reggie runs out. He's like, "No,
yeah, we got to get him out of there."
Yeah, and he tackles him. Yeah,
no, there's
not going to happen.
Well, and I will say, I think
that much gas.
Well, I'm not going to go back into that. I think we all know my opinion of that fucking explosion. But very cool that they blew up a house and fucking caught it on tape.
Sure.
Damn it! And now I've digressed, and I don't remember what I was going to say.
Yeah.
well,
damn
this time with him screaming in the street.
Or him talking to him about
Yeah.
everything
Okay.
being
So
in his head.
I think one of the things they try to achieve in the Phantasm movies is you don't know if certain parts are dream,
Yeah.
or reality.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like all the times they tried to kill him in the first one.
Right.
You know, like the car getting pushed down on Mike at 1.2 while he's working on the Hemi. You
Right,
know?
yeah. in the
Right.
first
Well,
one.
again, he's driving that sweet ass fucking Hemi Cuda, man. That fucking car is the shit.
It is.
I
the
fucking love
shit.
that car. One of the coolest cars in all the fucking, besides the Mad Max Interceptor, and
And the Batmobile.
Yeah,
right.
the Batmobile. No. The Hemi Cuda's better.
The 1989 Batman.
I was getting ready to ask: Are we
Batmobile.
speaking Tumblr or are we talking like-
89.
Dick.
Yeah.
Nah, 89. And so that's whenever he's like, "Let's go. We're gonna do it."
Yeah.
And they hit the road.
I fucking believe you now. Now we just turned this into Supernatural.
Yeah, so this turns it into a road movie. I was reading it was kind of influenced by that Stephen King Salem Lot part where they go on the road,
Right.
and he's like, we got to go find this guy. And there's Reggie's doing like a diary, some more voiceover.
Yeah, he does his own like
Yeah,
inner
yeah.
monologue with
Yeah.
diary. Like
He's like writing as he's riding shotgun. It could take us forever. We're mostly going northwest.
he leaves his little traps every once in a while.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, yeah, and he's got his own like fucking
Because you got to know
spiral
what's going on. He
Yeah.
can't just be writing.
hanging out.
I had
Yeah.
questions about that. Like, is this happening everywhere or just in like small town, middle America?
Small towns.
Small town, middle America, to where
Over the
yeah, over time, because the tall man will go into a place and like the last place that he was really at
He was
his
the
home base
mortician, yeah.
was at the Morningside Cemetery, in their hometown. So he had already moved on, and they were just on his trail at this
Right.
point. This is one of the coolest parts to me, is because whenever they go into the hardware store, that's so fucking cool. Like they had to have staked out this hardware store in some way to know that
Right.
the back door just had a fucking wooden deal, and they just needed a ruler with.
Yeah,
You know
to
what I mean?
pop open the
Yeah,
lock.
They needed a ruler and no alarm system or anything. And of course, this is in the 80s, probably not going to have. And then they have the shopping cart, and I was like, let's go shopping. It's
this is
very
when-
Dawn of the Dead-ish.
Yeah, and then, this is also where we get our very A-Team-ish moment.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, when they're
Very
locking and
awesome.
loading, yeah.
It was very awesome A-Team-ish
Yeah,
moment.
it's like, and I'm glad that they didn't fuck up the Hemi. Not too much, but there'll be a part where they do. And they kind of build their own like little arsenal.
Yeah, they build the flamethrower and the 4-barrel shotgun.
That
two
is
double-barrel
the fucking
shotguns.
shit right
Yeah.
there. Reggie just looks at one, and he picks up the other, and is like, yeah. How does he get the handle in between them? I've always been perplexed about that.
Well, you
It
look at the
shows-
top too, and the way it almost melds together the two stocks,
right.
almost. But then it comes down,
Yeah,
So
and there's a little gap in between the barrels too. But how he's hammering that
no,
the
dude,
grip
that's
on.
not science.
No, not at all, not at
That's
all.
a fucking 80s
But
movie.
it's like,
dude.
how did he put those together, and then he cuts them in a way
He
that the
didn't.
bullets will
He
spread.
didn't.
They're like angled.
Yeah,
That would be It'd be a pretty
With a
It'd be
bandsaw?
pretty cool.
Yeah.
but
Yeah. He cuts it
It
with
is a little ridiculous.
could you imagine the kick on that motherfucker though?
Dang, dude.
Well, he cuts it with this goddamn circular saw too.
Yeah,
You know
right.
what I mean?
Does he,
Like, how does that
Does
happen?
he cut off the stocks though?
Yeah. No, he melds the stocks together.
Oh,
Yeah.
together.
They're
right.
one single stock at 1.2, and whenever you look at it really closely, you could tell it's a crude kind of put together prop, but at the same time,
Well,
it's
it's a
fucking
crude
super cool.
Put together like
Yeah.
within
Weapon.
like an
Yes.
hour in a fucking
in a hardware store
Hardware
before they
store,
opened.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was like 4:00 in the morning, and they're gonna make shit.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody heard that.
yeah.
We don't open till 8 on Sunday. We got 4 hours.
We gotta make our weapons. Which he kind of picks some weird stuff. Even Reggie grabs the little sledgehammer,
Yeah.
the big
Oh, yeah.
sledgehammer.
Yeah, and he's got that like little that little sledgehammer. I'm like, settle down, Thor. Put that away.
yeah. What are you gonna do with that shit? He's like, yeah. Like he even kind of swings.
I was also
bit.
a little perplexed by I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a visual thing, the flamethrower. But would that be the best choice with like all the guns around? A flamethrower?
Well,
Close-up
it might be
weapons.
for close up. Like if like you have 8 Jawas on
Oh,
you, dude,
right,
you know,
right.
you can just.
He rigs a pretty neat flamethrower.
Well, that's
together.
what he says to Reggie, because Reggie grabs like a hunting rifle or some shit like that with a scope
It's just
on
close quarters.
Yeah, and
He's
he's
like,
like,
"You
no
gotta-
long rifles
it.
aren't
Yeah, you
gonna
got to
be
have
good."
something close. You got to
Yeah.
get in close to these guys. So then Reggie grabs the chainsaws too,
Chainsaw, little
yeah, which is
chainsaw.
pretty cool. And he has all these really close-up weapons, and they grab all the bullets. It's just a really cool sequence of them, like A-teaming it.
But they throw some money down and
Yeah,
they open
yeah.
the cash
So they're
register
not
and
dicks.
throw like a couple $100 down.
Yeah, there's definitely a hundo in there.
Yeah, they probably swept up the place.
I
after
probably
they
thought
were
it
done.
was like $200 or $300.
Yeah.
And that's probably in the 80s.
That would have bought
The
two
guy's like
shotguns.
mad. He's thinking about calling the cops, and he's like, "Well, they only took $150 worth of stuff.
Right.
They paid me and didn't
They
steal my
left-
money.
They left me more than that."
It's the
And
same
left the
di-
tools here.
It's
Okay,
probably the guy from Texas Chainsaw Massacre's like son
good.
that ran the chainsaw store.
Yeah, the
And
chainsaw
he's-
peddler.
Yeah, but yeah, this is his son that runs the hardware store in Oregon.
yeah.
So what's going to happen? Oh, no, it's the 80s. I was going to say what happened later. He's going to go back and watch the security tape and be like, oh,
yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna love it. He's like, oh my god,
Now he
it's so
loves
awesome.
that.
And then there's gonna be a band that walks by.
Yeah, of course. Why not?
But what's
It's walked all the way from Texas to here.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, for the Red River rivalry.
Yes.
Which-
I think we've digressed a little bit.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
back
But-
to this movie.
But that's really cool that they have that sequence in the middle of that, and then they get back on the road because they're sleeping at that one place. And I think even this one is a kind of a cool fact too, because that was like at a national park somewhere. And I don't know where they filmed the beds at and shit like that, but the window shot that they're out. This is the part that always kind of perplexed me too, is because whenever they shut the trunk lid on the Hemi,
Uh-huh.
it's not shut all the way.
Right.
It's like, did they not think about that? If they hit a
Yeah.
bump, all their shit would fly out. You know what I mean? Like they got to take it easy.
Well,
You
It's
know?
probably just a production.
Is
error.
isn't this part where we get the quote like in I don't remember which one of them said it, something about small towns because they roll
Yes.
into that town, it's all jacked
Oh, he's
up,
like
right?
small towns are like people. Sometimes they die.
They get old and they die naturally,
And
or
sometimes
something.
they're murdered.
And sometimes they're murdered.
Yeah, and there's so many like blown up cars in these
Well,
towns.
yeah,
too.
I wanted to get into that a little bit. They're driving through all these small towns, and it's like your typical like movie, like just storefronts, but everything's all like all the windows are blown
Yeah.
out and broken and boarded up. But I was thinking some of it looked really dusty, and the cars were older.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that meant to imply that he'd been there like a long time ago, or is
Maybe.
it just it's just an
Yeah,
aesthetic
it's like
choice?
it's like
Yeah,
the
I
cutting
think more of
corral
a-
was open like 20 years ago,
I don't know.
and
Yeah,
somehow he blew through it and like destroyed everything.
I think it was more aesthetic, just
like a way to make it
Yeah,
look
yeah.
small townish.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they kind of get into more of that, and that's whenever he's like,
Down
"We
on
got to
Main
go get
Street.
Liz." And
Yeah.
well, then they introduce Liz again, with her
Yeah.
her grandmother, because her grandfather dies, and she says, "Well, my
Well,
grandfather."
wait, real quick. You had said that they had laid traps before, but first they set a trap before
Yes.
you see the funeral of Liz's
Yeah,
grandfather.
this is where we get the first real trap.
The first, one of the first gross effects is they go. It takes a while. They go into a mortuary in one of the small towns.
And I like that it's boarded up, and it says "burn in hell."
Yeah, it
Yeah.
says burn in hell.
Well, what's
in
funny,
red.
the first
Yeah.
part of that, whenever they pull up to that, and they all gotta get let's get our gear,
Get the
and so
gear.
they put it all on, and Home Dude grabs a sucker.
Yeah,
It's like, what the fuck is this?
Because he's
I
a
mean,
badass. Cobra
going-
has his toothpick. Come
Yeah.
on, man.
Yeah, man.
yeah.
My favorite thing is the bandoliers.
Yes, shotgun shells.
of
Yeah.
just shotgun shells for
Like, let's-
days. He's never going to be without shotgun shells again.
Like,
Yeah.
let's go. to
Not
work.
after the first time in that weird
Yep,
dream
not after the
sequence that
first
did
time.
maybe possibly
Yeah.
happen.
Or did.
Yeah.
Or
Maybe.
did. We
Yeah.
don't know.
We don't know, but the whole graveyard is completely empty, and they go through everything.
yeah,
but
there's
there's
like a
candles
wide-
lit
yeah.
everywhere. It's like there's still somebody there.
Yeah.
That's the weird part about it. There's still somebody there, and that's when you see the alchemy woman first. You don't really know that's her.
I was
Yeah,
just
so
gonna
she's
say
on
they
that
go.
slab.
Yeah, they go into a slab.
And
There's
you're just
a
like,
woman
what
on
the
a slab.
fuck? You don't
And
really
she's got
hear
the
nothing.
scars from where she's been
Opened
Autopsy.
up.
opened
Yeah.
up. Yeah, the
Mhm.
autopsy's
So-
already happened.
So maybe she was one of the last people in that town to
Yeah.
actually get
Yeah,
taken or something
probably.
like that.
Sure.
So he notices her
Or
and then
not turned into
a minion.
A
a minion.
Jawa.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
maybe that is the thing with it. Maybe, well, I guess we'll get to
Yeah.
the spoiler later.
They're going to
but-
use her for something.
By the way,
anyway.
I'm
Yeah.
not going to not call these things Jawas.
Yeah.
That's fine,
Unless
that's
I know
fine.
their name.
Yeah.
Like Grandma.
They're the minions. Yeah. And so, he looks around and he's like,
They
And
walk
all of a
past
sudden-
a body on a slab, and it is the alchemy woman. Then they go down into like the furnace room,
But let's talk about that too, because he's got the flamethrower, he's got the mask on.
yeah,
Mhm. the welding mask.
that's a welding mask.
So Anybody here ever wore a welding mask?
Yes, many.
What's your
times.
peripheral vision in
You
a
can't
welding
see
mask?
shit.
Exactly. You're not going to see anything to the left, anything to the right. You're only going to see in front of you. That is a poor fucking choice, my
Well,
friend.
you can't see anything with that flap down anyway because it's
Right.
completely black.
Right. Well,
You know, until you're welding, you get to
Yeah,
see because it's
yeah.
such a bright light.
sure.
So that's why I thought about that too. I was like, how is he going to see with that?
Well,
Maybe-
they have. You could do clear.
Yeah,